All right, welcome to the Tuesday. I'm Ultra David.
I'm James Chen, and we have some super old topics here listed here. Dude, I'm so tired right now.
So we're tired because over the last day, we have had a lot of time to play Street Fighter V and commentate Street Fighter V. And in fact, that started last night at about 8:30 when James was supposed to bring over... oh, you gotta handle that.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to go just switch that off really quick? Sorry. Dude.
Yeah, it's like definitely just we're barely hanging on right now.
So
you were supposed to bring the two sticks that we would play on this PS4 that Peter Combo Fiend brought down with SF5 on it. I was supposed to bring the Asus monitor, and I totally forgot. And so as a result, we had to wait about an hour while some guy, engineer who works at this hotel, came up and like switched the TV to like actual TV mode where we could play the games on it with HDMI.
Which is cool too, because the engineer apparently was a big gamer. Like as soon as he walked in, he saw the joysticks, and the first thing he said was, "Street Fighter," and we were like, yeah. And he was like, "Beta," and we're like, Combo Fiend was like, yeah. But then it turned out he was super cool. Like we were just talking about it, just talking about games and just all sorts of stuff, and how excited he was about going to E3. Apparently, like even the local hotels like that will get passes to give to their employees. And like Peter was even joking that he talked to like two people who like, including the engineer, who enjoyed like video games and stuff. And the guy's like, "Yeah, we're probably the two only people here who do, so we're gonna go."
So once that started, we played until like maybe 1:30.
Oh god,
maybe 2.
It was like 2.
Was it 2?
Yeah.
Ugh. And then we had to drive home, and then I tweeted for like an hour about it, and I didn't get to sleep until 4:15.
I didn't sleep until 5.
So it's
and then
rough.
We had to wake up early to make sure we had plenty of time to get our badges today.
Yeah, which took a long time, it turned out. So we are not running on that much. But I'll tell you what we'll do. We will talk as much as we can about Street Fighter V and our impressions of it, and I, maybe people want to ask us questions because we probably won't think of everything.
For sure.
We'll try to address that stuff. We will also talk about E3 in general. There have been some very interesting press conferences. Only one that I can recall. I'm not sure if there was anything from either Nintendo or Microsoft. It might only have been Sony yesterday. As far as up here, that's all I can recall. That's all I got.
Fair enough.
Anyway, we'll talk about that stuff. That's not all. We'll talk about Killer Instinct on PC. We'll talk about...
Yeah, there's a lot of other fighting games. DreamHack. ECT was this weekend.
Tournament in Japan. There's a bunch of other stuff that happened. But definitely the big thing is Street Fighter V. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, okay. So again, we had a chance to sit down for 4 hours playing this. And beforehand, because we couldn't get the TV working right away and stuff like that, and we didn't even know that the Street Fighter V could load properly on the console. Like, we tried to start it, and it wouldn't start up, and Peter was like, "Sorry, guys."
It took a while, man.
Yeah, but we got a chance just to Q&A with Peter as well, so we were just asking. So we got like an hour's worth of just questions and discourse from him, and then we got to play it, which actually I think turned out really well.
Agreed.
Yeah, and so we got a lot of hands-on, we got figure out a lot of stuff. And, we just have all sorts of information hands-on, and of course we're both scientists, so we just were like testing things all day.
Dude, like 5 minutes into it, we were testing things, and we were like, "Peter, does this work?" And he was like, "I've never even thought about testing that." Okay, general impressions first. I really, really like the pace of the game. I think it has an excellent flow. At this point, a lot of stuff can change. Probably will change with the characters. We'll talk about the characters, but I'm sure a lot of stuff will change with them. Right. But the important thing maybe is how it feels, how it plays. And it feels and plays excellently.
Yeah.
Excellently.
There's a lot of, there's going to be a lot of decisions that I think that they made for the game that a lot of people at first are not going to be fans of, right? So, for example, limiting the number of moves, no close-up moves, no fire moves, only one set of jump attacks, right? Some people might be like, "Yo, why are you doing this?" But there's just a lot of things about it that the decisions, when you see them all come together, it just kind of makes sense. Like, also, it seems to be conscious that they made it so that lights don't blink into anything very often. you know, and only Cammy that I can, as far as I can tell, actually had a decent one off of that, off of her low jab. But just a lot of these things that they did for the game, it feels like was designed to make the pace faster.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when the alpha games first came out, they had these quick rolls. Like Alpha 2, if you did like back to down plus jab, after a knockdown, you would just go whoop and get up, like instantly, right? And a lot of people started complaining about that. They're like, I hate this, there's no wake-up game, and you've gotten rid of the wake-up game. It's kind of like this right now in Street Fighter V, but it just makes the pace so much faster, and it fits with the overall feel of the game. So, whereas, you know, we complained about it maybe in the past, it's also a different era as well. And it just doesn't bother me anymore. You know, it's not that bad to me. So.
Well, I feel like I'm playing an older school game when I'm playing it. It feels to me like it is Super Turbo plus Third Strike. Mm-hmm. Super Turbo damage.
Yeah.
And Super Turbo like
space,
sort of air options, like not like you don't have like air blocking or parry or whatever. Right. And then Third Strike footsies. Because definitely whiff punishing is still a thing on like ST, and definitely there are things that are punishable on block, which is a big Third Strike thing. And just sort of the way you pressure feels very Third Strikey to me. Yeah. The opponent has sort of assy wake ups for the most part. A lot of things are not invincible in this game, and so if you knock down the opponent, like it's time to guess. And I really feel like that mid-range game that Third Strike has, which I love, because I feel like it's the most complex, because there's so many options going on. I feel like this game, with the characters that are in it now, have that, with how many different footsie options you're bringing out at all times. And then once you get close, very serious mix-ups.
Yeah, they really designed a lot of the normal moves this time with a purpose, like something in mind, because a lot of times it's like, let's animate a bunch of moves and figure out how to use them and tweak them or whatever, but it feels like they gave them all a purpose. So yeah, you're right, a lot of the buttons are very useful in footsies.
Yeah.
And you know, whereas, so it feels like ST speed, like you were talking about, but they're still whiff punishing and that kind of stuff, and that's where the Third Strike factor comes in, right? So like, in ST with like Chun Li, you can just mash low forward and no one's gonna ever punish that, right?
They gotta guess, right? Yeah, like that's it. There's no whiff punishing.
We always joke about the fact that Zangief far standing short has literally 0 recovery frames. Like the last active frame, the last frame is an active frame.
Shout out to ST.
It's on the very
my
last
favorite
frame.
game.
So there's absolutely 0 whiff punishing that move, right? So, you know, those kind of things. So you can't get away with that in Street Fighter V. So it's still footsies, very kind of whiff punishy and stuff like that. But the damage, the speed, oh, you stun so fast in this game. If you guys watched the stream, I mean, we just kept pointing it out. Like, if you watched the Capcom Fighter stream earlier today, it's all we were saying, like, dude, he's like 80% stunned already.
And you feel that as the player. When we were playing yesterday against Combo Fiend, there were games where I didn't even look at my actual life bar. When I was playing against Peter, he is, you know, obviously he's working on the game, he knows it very well. So when he found an opportunity, he would turn it into a big stun combo. And I would be at 50% stun already. And then if he mixed me up 1 or 2 more times, I was stunned and he did a death combo.
Yep.
And that was it. So it was really, like, my life bar, I felt, was, like, not even as important. It was like, am I going to be stunned or not? And when you know that you're 1 mix-up away from being stunned, everything counts. Like, overheads
you're
count.
So scared.
Throws count. Lows count. All that stuff. Even though it's not like games where you start with an overhead and it's like you have some whole chain that goes out of it, right? Overheads are just single hits still.
Right.
But because of how stun works, I feel like they're deadly.
Yeah.
Like, they really count.
Yeah, the stun builds up fast, and also the normal move chip damage. We'll get into a lot of these system stuff a little bit later, but a lot of these things really amp the danger feeling in this game. Like, in Street Fighter 4, when the round begins, you don't feel a lot of danger. You know what I mean? Like,
you're 20 hits away from dying. You know
right.
what I mean? Like, not 20, like, not literally. Fine. Some characters, it's still 2 or 3 in SF4, right? Some characters, but for the most part, not so.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, for example, like at the beginning, if you take unblockables out of the equation, like, you would rather take the throw from a lot of characters and stuff like that. But in this game, it's just like everything you get hit by, you're just like, crap.
Yo, 4 throws and you're stunned.
Just about, yeah.
It was 25% stun.
It was... I think it was a little less.
Slightly less?
I think it's slightly less. I think 5 throws guarantee is stun. Yeah. So.
Which means that 2 throws and then 1 more mix-up that turns into a combo is the stun.
Yeah.
So things feel dangerous. Like you said, the way that normals do semi-chip damage. Okay, so when you block a normal attack in Street Fighter V, you lose a little bit of white life, recoverable white life.
Except for light attacks.
Except for light attacks.
Except for light. So there's only mediums and heavies.
Right, and only normals. Specials do regular chip damage.
Yeah. Non-recoverable. You just lose that life, basically.
Right. But if you block a bunch of fierces, you have lost, well, potentially lost a pretty big chunk of white life. And we tried one round to see how far, if it would stop. And it just kept on white life,
we built up 50% white life, and then you tapped me once and it just dead.
You exploded. Yeah. So as you're defending, if your opponent is really harassing you well, you are taking a lot of potential damage, white life damage.
Overhead.
And exactly right, yeah. And then it's that overhead low or throw game, each one of which will take off the white life and maybe stun you. And it's just like you feel like you're gonna lose for getting knocked down. It's really quite interesting, quite exciting.
I mean, it's really interesting because a lot of that is in play. Like I saw some people in the chat mentioning like they don't like the fact, and this is true, you cannot die by chip damage from special moves.
Right.
So in other words, if you have 0 health and you're blocking and Bison starts scissor kicking you all day, you can block to your heart's content. This is very much a Uniel mechanic as well. Under Night and Birth is the exact same way. So a little bit we've gotten kind of used to it because of that, right? But to me, it feels like it works because of the white life chip and everything like that. It all kind of comes into account and comes into play, and I feel like it balances itself out well so that you have all this offensive pressure, but then at the end, the player still has to be rewarded to kill you properly instead of just walking up to you, EX uppercut, get the free victory. You know?
One of the reasons that I feel like it's a little third strike-ish is that at the end of a round, there's no guaranteed chip death situation, unlike ST, SF4, a lot of different games have that.
Right.
In third strike, you could parry your way out of chip death situations. In this game, you just don't get chipped. So I feel like you, as the attacker, you still have to have some like actual opening, like you said, which is definitely a third strike thing. The end of rounds in that game were really interesting.
Right.
And I feel like it's going to be the same way in SF5.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of cool because there was a lot of times where it was, sure enough, like in Street Fighter 4 or in any fighting game, you're knocking down 0 life, you walk up and it's like, the EX is going to kill, there's nothing you can do. So I think it's kind of neat. I think it's a good way to build a little extra tension and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it means more decision making for the players. And I guess as a side, it also makes it so that if you're watching somebody play, you don't check out after the knockdown. Like, because dude, oftentimes when I'm watching ST, SF4 or something, and I see somebody get knocked down with chip death left, I just like alt tab for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I know it's gonna happen. It's like that round's over.
Right. And that's a good point. So
not in this game.
If you have all 3 of your meter, we'll talk about the super meter in a little bit. Supers will kill you through chip.
Yes.
So that was a concession that they gave. If you have all that meter, you can do low forward super and kill them, basically.
I think that's a fine compromise.
Oh, that's beautiful. I totally enjoy that.
Interesting meter management.
That. Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the basics. We did this at the show, but let's do this here as well for people who didn't get to watch a lot of the Capcom fighters. So, obviously life meter, standard, common, what you're going to get, timer, what you're going to get.
We didn't ask, or maybe you did, do different characters have different amounts of life?
I did not ask that question.
I didn't think to ask it.
Now, the one thing that we were told, though, is that there is no guts rating in this game. Right. So in Street Fighter 4, once your life drained about, I think it was like 75%, like you just started taking less damage, and then at 90%, you just started taking even less damage.
Very common in many fighting games, not just
most fighting games do that. Yeah. Apparently, that's not the case right now. So whatever damage you're taking at the beginning of your life bar is the same damage you're taking at the end of the life bar. So that's kind of, again, more reason to make it so that you don't die by chip because the damage is really hefty in this game, right? But yeah, other than that, standard life bar, standard timer kind of situation. Let's talk about the extra meters. There's 3 extra meters basically, right? One is the stun gauge that you did reference to. Very third strike. You see the stun gauge at the bottom of your life meter. As you get hit, it fills up. if the opponent is not making you block or hitting you anymore, it'll start to drain. So this means if you're attacking or if they're just on the other side of the screen not doing anything. And it goes down pretty quickly. I don't mean that it drains fast. It's in Street Fighter 4, like, boom, goes up to 50. And then you wait,
right.
drain. In this game, it's literally like, boom, drain. You know what I mean? You really got to keep the pressure going to keep that meter up.
Right.
You know, a lot of times when we did commentary, we would always be like, oh, he's probably safe now. And that's only because he ran away for a short period of time. But that's because it takes a while before it starts to drain. And then, when it builds up and you get hit, that's it. You're pretty much dead. Yeah. At least that was the case when Peter stunned us all the time.
Yeah, that dude was getting 50%, 60% damage combos. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So then the other meter, of course, there's a super meter. You can do EXs out of it. You can do supers out of it.
And as far as I know, that's all you can do right now.
Yeah.
Right? So there's three blocks.
Right.
So Street Fighter 4 had 4 blocks.
Right.
This one only has 3 blocks. So 1 for EX, all 3 for super.
Right. And then there's the V meter. And the V meter is a little funky. It's less across the board than the other two. It can vary by character, whether there are sort of 2 units that comprise it or 3. 3 that being the longer one. It's not just different sections. It's each chunk is the same length, and some have 2, some have 3. Many different things are used with it. It's a very complex meter. So one of them is essentially an alpha counter. It's called V reversal, and you can spend 1 chunk and use an alpha counter.
Right.
Once it's full, you can activate your V trigger.
Well, one thing I will mention about V reversals is that to perform them right now, you block and then you hit forward plus 3 punches or 3 kicks depending on the character.
Right.
Now, there was hints that they may come up with a universal command so that everybody can do the same thing.
Right.
But that's just how it's implemented right now. And it's really interesting because every character has a different kind of reversal. I mean, a lot of them will hit you and do a decent chunk of damage. They can't kill you. Not a decent chunk, like a small chunk of damage. It's not like super thin, but it's not like a ton. So it's just like a good medium-sized amount of damage. They cannot kill, though. They cannot kill.
If you don't know what an alpha counter is, it's just when you're blocking, you can quickly perform this motion and you'll cancel out of your block stun and you toss the opponent away in whatever format. It differs by character. Some knock down, some just push the opponent away.
Right.
But the point is that you get out of pressure.
Right.
You don't have to block anymore.
So, for example, Bison would just have a big ball appear around him and it would just knock you over, right?
Yeah.
Chun Li apparently doesn't knock you over. I haven't seen what hers looks like yet, but according to Peter, that she would hit you, not knock you over, but push you into the exact distance in which all of her like footsies are at optimal range. So basically, she counters you and puts you into her preferred distance, where she can poke you with a lot of stuff. Cammy, for example, actually flies behind you.
Right, switches sides.
Yeah, so she tries to pass through you. I mean, if you alpha counter a fireball and then she like comes up and stays in front, like she can't even hit you. She literally has to go behind you and hit on the other side. But that's really cool because then if you're cornered, you do that once and then boom, now you have them cornered. You know, so it's kind of neat. So, yeah.
Definitely. So V trigger is different for everybody. It happens once you have a full V meter. You can press Fierce plus Roundhouse. You activate V trigger, and everybody's does something different. You know, I guess we can maybe go into what they do when we talk about individual characters, but quite different across the board. Some drain down slowly after that. Charlie's is just one use.
Yeah.
One use, and you have to build it back up again.
Some of them drain down slowly until you use special moves, then it drains chunks down.
Right.
So, for example, Cammy, when she builds up her meter, if you do a special move, all of her special moves become enhanced, but it drains like 40% of the meter. So you can max get 3 of them, but if you wait, like, you can get 2 around. You know, you'll get average of around 2. Meanwhile, Ryu, when you activate his, he chucks fireballs, and they all, like, speed up and knock down, and they're, like, super good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't drain any extra meter when you activate it. So he's just sitting there chucking fireballs at you, and, like, he turns into super fireball zoning mode.
Yeah.
You know, it's really neat, actually, so...
The way that you build up V meter is by getting hit or by using your V skills. So you don't have to remember what these are. Reversals, trigger, skills.
Yeah, anytime the word V is in the front of it, though, it involves that meter.
Correct.
Right. So V skills can be done for free. You don't need the meter to do them, but they build meter, right? And so, yeah, like basically if certain characters have ones that'll hit you, and if they hit you, they build meter. Some of them, like Birdie, he just eats a donut and he just builds it by himself, right? Like Charlie, he has to make contact with the opponent in order to build it and such. So
quite different V skills as well. So each one of those things is quite different among the characters.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Spin Knuckle does build V. Yeah, because I was building it when we were doing tests. So basically, if you get them to block or if you get them to hit, they will build meter. But like I said, it's different because, like I said, Birdie just eats food and he just builds meter.
Cans.
So. Yeah, exactly.
Bananas. So those are the meters. As far as sort of movement options, it's pretty similar to previous games. It's much like Third Strike, I really think, without the parry, where you have walk, you have dash, you have backdash. Backdash is not invincible.
No high jumps, though.
There's no super jump. You're right. You're right. There's no super jump. But the jumps themselves are, quite different among characters. Some are fast, some are floaty. That always happens. But kind of more basic than some other games in terms of your movement options, which I think it's awesome because ST is my favorite. So that's
ST didn't even have dashes.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, it helps because some of the characters do walk very slow.
Yes.
It's actually not that huge of a detriment. Like once you start getting into the game, but dashes are nice to have.
Of course,
as a way to make up for that. So
of course. Okay, well, I mean, those are the absolute basics. The buttons are jab, strong, fierce, short forward, roundhouse.
Yeah, and again, both of the light attacks are a throw.
Yes.
Both of the medium attacks are the V skill, and both of the heavy attacks are V trigger.
Let's talk about throw.
Well, before I do that, we did mention a little bit that, the normal moves, there's no close-up, there's no far. Neutral jump is the same as any of the angled jumps. And a lot of characters do have directional inputs, though.
Yeah, I think everybody does.
Yeah, as far as
everybody of these characters who are playable.
Like as far as I can tell, Cammy had like 2, but then like Charlie had like 4, and like 4 or 5 or something like that. Actually, I can count 5 right now. Dang. He has forward plus every button but jab.
Wow.
Now that I think about it, because he has the bazooka knee, the little Van Damme kick. Yeah, roundhouse. I don't know if he had one on roundhouse or not.
Didn't he have step kick? He had the.
Oh yeah, he did have the step
kick.
Does. But then fierce is the back fist, and strong was the overhead. So he has like 5.
There you go.
And Chun Li has she has 5 as well, I think. Oh, yeah. Well, it's weird because her strong button, back and forward make her do the stabby poke, but neutral makes her do this close button. And then back fierce makes her do the palm.
Yes. Back
roundhouse makes her do the split kick. And then towards roundhouse makes her do the hop kick. Offensive crouch forward makes her do the alpha 1 flip kick. So
there's a lot of different options, even though they're not activated by proximity to the opponent. You have to manually do it, which I'm totally cool with. There are target combos in the game. Some characters have quite a few. Nash, that's going to screw me up for a while.
Yeah, I know, right?
They want him to called Nash.
Yeah.
He has a few. He has a few target combos.
Yeah. I don't remember what they were.
I don't remember either.
I just saw Shen using them, and I was like, what the heck?
Cool. Ryu has stand strong, fierce, roundhouse. I don't think Birdie had one.
He did. He had crouch, fierce.
Oh, you're right.
So he like launched you up and then pow, smacked you, which is actually taken from Alpha 3. In X's and Birdie, he had a move where he like hit you up and then jumped up and punched you. It's really similar. Okay. It's really similar to that, yeah.
Okay. So those are those options. Throw?
Yeah, let's go into throw.
So throw is done with jab and short. Throw is activated regardless of whether you're standing or crouching. Which means that if you're crouching and you press throw, you don't get a little crouching short, which is what we call a crouch tech.
Right.
Which means that you can come out with a crouching short, but if the opponent throws you, you'll tech their grab. That doesn't work like that in SF5 because you will always stand tech. You know, you'll always stand it for the grab. Yeah.
Right. So you always get the whiff animation. So
right.
In other words, if you back right up out of throw range, you're not going to block a low short. You're going to see them whiff, and then you get to blow them up, pretty much.
Yeah, and throws are not huge range. Maybe a little bit less than SF4, which means that the old third strike mix-up of walk in, walk out is like pretty strong. Pretty strong. Because you're not, you're right, you're not worried about crouch techs hitting you as you're walking backwards. You're not worried about these huge range throws. Even as throws are very strong because they deal a lot of stun, they have great setups afterward, and their window to tech is very short.
Yeah, that's one of the important things. Look, we were just testing it. Like, I was trying to do some of those late Street Fighter 4 throw techs, and that was not flying at all.
Not a thing. So despite those strengths, or the weakness is that it has a lot of strengths. It's a very, very good tool, but I feel like it works how everybody wants it to work. Like, even as somebody who was like definitely a big proponent of crouch teching, I don't think it's as stupid as people do. I actually really like a lot of the mind games that come out of it. Okay. But that said, I'm very happy to be back to a situation where it's just a grab. Actually, not even back to a situation. Even in third strike, you crouching jab wasn't even a grab. So
well, the funny thing is, you could crouch tech in third strike. Yes. It's just the thing is, if you baited it out, then you parried it and killed him, right? I mean, that was the whole was the whole trick, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So throw mix-ups are really good, really good. I like those games a lot.
Throws are scary.
They
are. When you get thrown, you do not feel happy about it at all. So, I mean, that's actually, I really like that.
We also tried hiding throws in buttons. So, for example, in SF4, it's very common to see people do crouching strong, option select throw tech.
Right, yeah.
Right? What you're doing is pressing strong, then jab short, and that means that your down strong will come out, down medium punch. But if the opponent threw, you will instead get a crouch tech. You'll get a throw tech. In SF5, you just get the grab. Like
throw just overrides it.
Throw overrides normals like pretty far into the normal, I would say. Pretty far into the normal's activation. So you can't really even do crouching strong option select tech.
Yeah, because like all those option selects, like the ones that stop the instant dive kicks, all had to be done from crouching. Because in Street Fighter 4, honestly, if you tried to stand and do it, you'll come out with the throw.
It's pretty hard to do.
Because the throw always overrid the normals, right? So you always did it with crouching moves. But in this game, since crouching also lets you throw, you can't do it that way.
Right. Now, that does mean that you can do Kara throws from crouching normals.
Yes.
And I didn't get a chance to try this today, but I'll try to tomorrow. I'd love to see what happens if I were to do Dictator's sweep, the crouching roundhouse.
Oh, slide,
Kara throw. That might be pretty cool.
I mean, he has a startup where he kind of stays in place. But
we'll see.
Someone did tell me, I think it might have been Eduardo, that they found one off of a crouching normal.
Okay.
I can't remember, but I mean, it wasn't. So, with regard to Kara throw, right now, only Chun Li has a decent one off of the standing strong.
Yeah.
The towards strong. She has a decent Kara throw. It's really good. It's really good. Because, okay, so just for measuring tests, for every character, we did 2 low jabs and then try to throw. It's too far.
Too far.
So you can do 1 low jab throw or 2 low jabs, take half a step throw.
Right. Which is still pretty fast.
Yeah. But Chun Li could do low jab, Kara throw. Like easy. So I don't know if that's going to stay, if they're going to try to get rid of Kara throws or whatever like that. But
Peter told me it's just part of the system, man. Like,
yeah.
There's nothing you can do about Kara throws.
But when I was talking to him, he was scared that it was going to make Chun Li too good. He was scared that it was going to make Chun Li too good to have that. So we'll see. We'll see how. Again, everything we say can change. Absolutely. But I mean, it's just really cool to know about as much as we can right now. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Any other basic mechanics?
There was something I wanted to mention. Shoot. There's just a lot of information.
Yeah, there is. Hard. That's why we like to take questions at some point. I know we're not going to remember everything.
Right. There was something I wanted to mention about throws. I might have just been Chun Li's Kara throw or something like that. But okay.
There's no super jumps.
Yeah, there's no super jumps. If I think of it, I'll mention it.
Sure. So do you want to talk about characters briefly then? Or?
Let me think if there's anything else I want to mention system wise.
Yeah. No backdash invincibility.
Yeah, no backdash.
Just movement.
Oh yeah, counter crush. We could talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
So counter crush is. So let's talk about counter hits generally.
Oh well, let's get to this question right here. Air throws, right?
Yes.
Chun Li, Charlie, yes, air throws. Strangely, Cammy currently no air throw, but again, Cammy and Birdie are obviously the newer characters.
Yeah, we'll see.
Added, so
changes.
They could be added in there. So there are air throws right now.
Right.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So counter hits.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's okay. So let's talk about counter hits, and then I remember something I want to talk about.
Moves, if they're counter hits, which is to say that they hit the opponent during their startup frames.
Startup frames, yeah.
Of whatever they're doing. They do give extra hit stun, allowing bigger combos, and they do more damage. But some moves, if they're used as counter hits, cause a crush counter. It says crush counter up on the screen.
And you hear it, too. You hear this ping kind of noise.
And the opponent goes spinning.
Yeah.
They have this very obvious animation.
Right.
And that allows for a lot of time. It's not infinite time. It's nothing like a focus crumple in terms of time.
Right.
But you do have enough time to get a pretty easily confirmed option. You can easily do a hurricane kick. You can easily do a dictator scissor kick, slide, something like that. If you're fancy, you can get up there and do like a legit combo. And we're not fancy, but Combo Fiend's fancy.
Right. So, for example, he said if he ever hits with Ryu standing roundhouse and ping, he gets the counter, he can actually take a step, maybe do low strong hurricane, right? But he also said if he's really feeling it and he hits you with that crush counter, he can dash up, get right next to you, and then go for one of Ryu's like strong, low fears, crazy combo or whatever for max damage. However, he said that it's like purposely designed that if you do the forward dash to get all the way in there, the next attack literally is like a 1 frame timing before they can block.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so if you are really feeling it and you're confident in your execution on a crush counter, you could definitely dash forward and max your damage out. And it'll probably also depend on your character's dash speed and stuff like that, right? Yeah. But otherwise, you can easily, like, I'm sure Ryu can get a sweep, like, every single time. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And, some characters like Chun Li can obviously crush counter super. Right? Stuff like that. But in general, if you want to max damage without, like, spending a ton of meter, you have to dash forward, but then it's hard to miss at that. I mean, it's very easy to time it so that they can block it at that point.
Right. And it's not the kind of thing that gives you hit stun on each additional next attack in the combo or anything. It's just that one hit. And it's only a couple of normals per character. I don't know all of them, but certainly there are at least a couple per character, it seems.
It seems like fierce and roundhouses.
It does seem like fierce and roundhouses. Yeah, agreed.
But it also seems like fierce and roundhouses, because someone actually mentioned this, it's really interesting. It also seems like fierce and roundhouses that can't be buffered. Because someone's saying, could you like fish for it and V-trigger?
I think you're right.
Like do roundhouse V-trigger. Because there's supposedly, because what Peter told us, most of the counter crush moves are moves that are pretty negative on block and stuff like that.
Right, so there's a risk to throwing them out. They're easily whiff punished and they're easily punished on block.
Right. So, and if they were bufferable, like someone was saying, could you actually just do like roundhouse V-trigger, and if you saw you counter crush them super? Or kill them, or since you are canceling move, you have way more time to dash forward and punish them. And I thought about it, and every single crush counter move I thought about was not bufferable.
Right.
So that might be
Couldn't be canceled.
It might be a conscious decision that they made. So.
Right. By the way, that we should tell this. You can cancel into V-trigger activation.
So the question was asked on stream. Can you extend combos with V-trigger?
You can in some instances. Some characters like Ryu can only combo into V-trigger from normals. Not, for example, Dragon Punch V-trigger.
Which we've seen in trailers is apparently taken out now.
Right. Peter was talking about it, saying that it's too silly. Like, it was safe and also super damaging. So
and so, like, you get him a jump and you're like, oh, look, you're dead, kind of thing.
Right. So that's out. But some characters, like Birdie, can do EX quarter circle forward punch, which is the headbutt. and cancel that into V-trigger activation. So some characters can do it out of specials, some not. Just, again, very character-specific.
Like Charlie had the move that looks a lot like Genocide Cutter, right? Where he does this little spin kick, so you can cancel that into a V-trigger. You can also cancel a Sonic Boom into the V-trigger, so you can actually Sonic Boom, and then while you're still in the recovery, teleport over to some other place. But in general, if your normal move can be canceled into a special, then it can be canceled into a V-trigger. And for the most part, it didn't look like any medium buttons caused enough hit stun that you could do low forward V-trigger, low forward.
Yeah, we saw people try it. Nobody got it.
And in fact, I remember Peter even telling me with Cammy, if you walk up to someone and do stand fierce V-trigger, you cannot get a combo. You could only do it if you do back fierce V-trigger, and then you can get the combo off of that.
Okay.
So V-triggers can be canceled into, and it can give some people some extra combos. So.
Speaking of links, I guess while we're on this.
Yeah, that's the one thing I wanted to talk about was the one-frame links.
So plinking is gone from SF4. That's not a thing anymore.
Even if it was, it doesn't really matter anymore. So
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. What happens instead is that there's a little window where the game allows a buffer, where if you press a normal attack, it will sort of still be in the memory for a few frames. And that means that if you press, if you're trying to link, say, strong to fierce, you press strong, then to get the fierce, rather than having just a single frame to time it on, you have a few frames to time it on.
Yeah, we don't know the exact count.
Right. Well, Peter told me that it's 2 frames either way, and I didn't think about like how to ask what does either way mean.
No, I think that was wrong, to be honest with you, because if you do it 2 frames late, there's no way it can rewind time.
Right. I was thinking what does it do? Like, does it just does it make the startup of that move 2 frames less?
Yeah.
Or something?
I don't think that's.
I don't know. That's what he told me, but you're probably right.
Yeah. So basically, one of Ryu's standard combos was standing strong, low roundhouse. That was something that Peter was doing a lot, right? So I tried that combo, and I was having trouble, but I was doing standard Street Fighter 4 timing. As soon as I changed my brain so that I was like, you know what, I'm just going to hit the button early. And when I did that, it felt like it was magic. Like, I hit strong, and I could tell it was early.
Yeah,
you just had that feeling like, I hit it way too early. Hit anyway.
Is in there.
Low roundhouse. I hit that so early. Boom, sweep. And I was like, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really funny because the TV that we played on, since it was the hotel TV, we weren't sure how laggy it was going to be. And even before we started, Peter was like, it's not going to matter with the input buffer in there. It's gonna be okay. I don't know if that's trustworthy or not because some TVs are really badly laggy.
Sure.
But no, it was definitely true. I was hitting buttons super early. And it was like, oh, you meant to hit it a little later, so let me just do that for you.
I feel like once you do a combo 2 times, you'll do it 100%.
Yeah,
you get 100% after that.
Yeah, so it's nice. So even though those may actually be mathematically 1-frame links,
right,
it doesn't matter. The game will repeat your input for you. You don't have to worry about it. And again, this is something they experimented with in Omega mode, right? They did this in Omega mode, and I even found in Omega mode the combos were super easy to do. So
yeah, for sure.
There you go.
Okay. Somebody asks if there's negative edge. I didn't specifically test, but I imagine that there is.
Yeah, I can't imagine why they would take it out.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about before we get into the characters?
Yeah, let us know if we're missing anything. Execution, there is Street Fighter 4 style input shortcut. That is in there. So for example, Dragon Punch, rather than doing forward, down, down toward, you can do down toward, down, down toward.
Yeah,
right.
So you could do uppercut directly from crouching and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Option selects. That is it's hard to answer that really because we haven't really tested that much, but I can tell you there's less room for option selecting. So in general, characters don't have very good wake-ups. Okay, so it's not going to be the case that you have to do like jump roundhouse, safe jump, option select, DP, because they're not going to do a wake-up DP anyway.
Right.
Unless it's like Ryu. There's like 2 characters right now.
They're not going to be buffering backdash.
Backdash isn't invincible anyway, so there's just fewer opportunities. We did try a couple of option selects. One of them was the crouch check that I was talking about, with where you hide it in a crouching strong. That didn't work. And we also tried Ryu V skill parry, option select throw.
Right. So just hit those 4 buttons. At the
hit the 4. Time. I even tried it with slightly different timings. And nothing seemed like it was consistent or like it was working how it would be useful. So.
Let me answer a couple of questions really fast here. So I was asked, is there corner cross-up? Yes. It's just like Street Fighter 4. You can jump over somebody in the corner. Right.
And it also has that SF4 thing where if you do an early jump attack into the corner, you'll stay in front.
Yeah. And, you know, I do want to address one thing about, you know, option selects. You can't get rid of option select.
No.
It's just not possible.
For example, if you cancel if you do crouching medium kick, cancel into fireball, that motion every time, and the opponent isn't there, you'll just do crouching medium kick.
Right.
But if the opponent gets touched by that crouching medium kick, you'll get a fireball. Yeah. That's just, it's part of video games,
that's what RB was doing with Birdie. He was just doing stand strong headbutt, someone stick out a button, stand strong headbutt, you know. But if you didn't stick out a button, the stand strong wasn't cancelable.
I mean, that's just, there's nothing you can do about that stuff. That's in there.
Like I said, option selects are just people outsmarting video games. And there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Agreed.
There's nothing you can do to stop it.
I think the major thing you can do is limit how many times they can be applied, how many situations they can be applied. And I do feel like this game has fewer situations where I can think of right now, at least, that I could apply options less than SF4.
Yeah. So someone asks, is zoning still going to be viable? We don't know. I mean, and I would imagine yes, if you just design the character right.
Exactly.
So that's just going to take about balancing right there. Is backdash airborne from the start? No. Oh. So someone asked, is backdash or throw invincible or airborne from the start? So what Justin told me was, against Combo Fiend, he kept trying to do backdash on Wake Up, and he just got thrown.
There you go.
And so Peter was like, yeah, you're going to get thrown. So apparently you can't do that. Okay. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, criticisms of the game so far.
Charge timings are fast.
Oh.
The charge timings are super fast.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, for example, we saw Combo Fiend do a reset out of the air with Bison, and he dashed to the other side across the opponent, did stand strong, crouching strong, already had enough charge time to cancel into scissors.
Right. Like normally in Street Fighter 4, you need to do low short, low short, low short, low short, scissor kick, you know. So the charge times are pretty fast. Yeah. Reversal windows, same thing as before. Same thing as Street Fighter 4. Pretty big reversal window. So. No charge partitioning, I don't think.
I didn't test it, but I assume that it's not in there.
Charge partitioning has only been in one game, and it's too complicated. I'd rather not have it be in there. So
yeah. All EX moves are full armored, not even close.
Yeah.
Not even, I don't even know if more than 1 or 2 are.
I know. Charlie's EX Genocide Cutter, which totally looks like a Wake Up anti-air. No invincibility.
Yeah. The only one I can think of offhand is Birdie's EX Headbutt.
Think if there's
as far as armored ones.
Yeah.
Not invincibility. And even invincibility, only a couple of moves have invincibility.
Right.
Very few. So you really got to just play straight up. Like there's...
Someone asked any details for the story. I actually tried to get some stuff out of Peter. I was like, so what's the deal? And he was like, no.
We tried a bunch of different ways, too.
Dude,
you had some cute ones.
Yeah, like I had this long, protracted story that led into something.
Very earnest sounding.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you know, I was just curious. And then he was like, nice try.
Yeah.
And then I liked you, how you were like, so is Blanca or Honda going to have instant commands for their button tapping moves?
I couldn't even get through the question, man. Like, so I was like, you know how Chun Li does crouching, it's now quarter circle forward for lightning legs rather than mash kicks. Is it going to be the same for Blanc? And I just started laughing. I couldn't even finish the question. Because I knew he would say no, but
Right. But
I'm sorry, no confirmation of Blanca or Honda.
They did try to make a lot more simpler controls. So hooligan roll, half circle forward plus punch. You don't need to do the tiger knee anymore, right? Birdie, command grab is not a 360, just half circle back plus punch. I mean, that does take away some utility. Now, you can't do them from down back and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, the way Birdie was designed, it just didn't even really matter.
Yeah.
Like, SPD was not a thing that was, like, important for him. So, yeah. What I wanted to mention was the motions, yeah. Okay, yeah, I mean, I have... Yeah, nothing else in terms of general system stuff. You want to just go straight into the characters then?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, cool. Oh, taunts. Yes.
Oh,
taunts.
Yeah. I mean,
taunts are in the game. Hit all 6 buttons.
They don't do anything. They just...
Yeah, as far as
they're
you
in
know.
there.
Yeah. And a lot of character-specific stuff I see here, we'll get to that when we get to the characters.
Yes.
So, Ryu.
All right.
Let's just do that now then. Do you want to take a quick break or anything like that, or?
Yeah, I guess.
Want to take a quick break? Okay.
We don't need to. It's fine. I can just eat on camera. I don't even really care.
Dude, just eat on camera,
okay.
dude. Like we're half awake right now
right,
and stuff
exactly,
like that anyway.
I got some inferno going on.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.